Welcome to the Voice of EMS. I am Charles McFall here with One EMS at the Georgia EMS Association Providers and Educators Conference is this one.
Right.
And I'm with Kim Littleton, and you're wearing the official Gemsa Association shirt.
I am.
So what are you doing with the association this weekend?
I'm the executive director for the association.
Okay.
I actually was hired, this is my 11th year, I believe, with the association. So when I came into the position, it was the first time that the association had hired a full-time executive director. Up until then, the board did the majority of the work for the conferences. And
so it's kind of like a COO type of, you just make sure everything runs day to day.
Correct.
Yeah? Okay.
Manage staff. I have a staff of 4 people that I manage. And we, in addition to the conference, we also oversee a lot of grant-funded training that we do across the state.
And that's where I've seen your name more, and I think I've seen your faces in the meetings talking about the grant fundings and the different things that go on. Grants are booger, man. They're hard to write and hard to get through, so we appreciate you putting all the effort in to help us out with that.
Yeah, it's been, we've been very fortunate with the association. The Trauma Commission has been, Georgia Trauma Commission has been a partner with us for many years. They fund the leadership program that we put on.
The year-long class thing, right?
Yes. We are in our 10th year. We'll actually graduate another class of 27 students in November.
Wow, 27.
So that'll bring us up to somewhere close to 250 alumni of that group now.
And actually, I'd looked at getting into it. I know it's a year-long class. It's over, every so often you'll meet to do the class. It's a lot.
It's 4 weeks. It's basically 1 week per quarter throughout the year.
Yeah.
Usually the modules are in March, May, August, and November. Covers everything from billing, meetings with county commissioners, really everything. If you're in a senior leadership position in EMS, really the ins and outs of how to do that job, some things that you don't typically think about when you go into the job.
Well, you know what we'll come back to, because I always like to ask how can One EMS help you, and I think we'll come back to that. It sounds like where we're going. But the 4 questions.
Okay.
What do you love about what you're doing? What do you love about EMS or what you're doing specifically?
For me, there are a lot of challenges in EMS. I'm not, that's not news to anyone now. We're faced with challenges every day in this profession. But the thing that really, I guess, has inspired me about this is I come from a lobbying background. I did that for 17 years before I got into EMS. I got into EMS because I really had a passion for it. I grew up in a public safety family. So EMS is my second career. I've only been a paramedic a short time, considered what some people here have been for 15 years, and I was perfectly content being the paramedic on the truck when the association approached me about this job. But really, I get the best of both worlds. I get to still be involved with the operations side of EMS. I actually still work as a paramedic some. But then I get to do those things where we hopefully will elevate the profession to the next level and continue work on retention and recruitment into this profession. And
that's I think what we need more of in this profession is, like myself, I did media and medicine. You've done the lobbying in medicine. That made you uniquely positioned to do what you're doing now.
Right.
And it's such a better, different world than even 15 years ago, where it was, well, you're on the truck and that's it. We have no options. So I love to hear that. The second question is, what's something that has changed over your exposure to, because you said you grew up in a first responder family, so it's not even just your career, it's your life. What has changed about the industry that was great, that needed to happen?
In my opinion, and maybe it's because I'm so involved with this program, but I think the leadership opportunities that we provide to EMS professionals now, up until really in Georgia, the leadership program that we have, this 4-week program that we mentioned, up until that program, fire services, every other aspect of public safety, they've had elements of leadership leadership training that they could access. For EMS, this is really the first opportunity to do that really delves into everything. And really, I think the increase in capabilities that we have with our leadership, the leadership potential that we have out there, is really going to be the driving force in how our services are run.
Right. I love. Well, I'm being sarcastic when I say I love hearing we get kids these days. They don't want to work. Well, it does come from the leaders, and I followed some really strong leaders. I had some bad managers, but some strong leaders at times that taught me what I learned today, and I try to instill that back in. So why do we expect 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds to get into this field brand new and have our 40 years of experience
Right.
to make them want to do it. If you could live your life backwards, I think everybody would. You'd be smarter when you had the energy.
Yeah, and I still say that I think that EMS overall has difficulty with our branding. I don't think really, the general public has no idea of the capability in the back of an ambulance. So I think that some of those hurdles, little by little, we're overcoming some of that. But it's always a challenge, but I'm always up for a good challenge anyway.
And you hit it on the head, branding. That's part of what we're wanting to do with One EMS is getting the public to understand what goes into it and understand there's a difference between medicine of what we do and insurance of how it gets paid.
Right.
That's two different ball games. It's not for today, but yes, understanding is a key factor to anything that we do. So what is something that you are seeing as a struggle in EMS or that you and your office are struggling with that needs change?
We're looking at those areas, and I know that probably Chad, like my chairman, I know he probably mentioned this as well. We're working on elements for, hopefully a retirement plan. What are those things that we can do that actually brings people into the profession, keeps people in the profession?
Yes.
The other part of it is, I think that we are constantly faced with the challenge of getting information out. That public education. It's not just about us as a family within EMS. We know what we do, but the general public doesn't understand that a lot. And until we do more work on the education of the capability of EMS and what it should be used for, I think we're really we're missing the target there.
I recently did some interviews in Bryan County with the chiefs, and then we got their administrative assistant that serviced all the chiefs, and her perspective was from a civilian world, and she goes, in the fire world, we do fire prevention. We've done it for a long time, and that really has brought down house fires.
Right.
Why are we not doing, not EMS prevention, but medical prevention? And I was like, well, I'm sure there are definitely groups that are out there, but that's what you're talking about, that education, that why am I dialing 911? How could I go back 5 steps and prevent that moment? So that the biggest argument always is, why are we running this call or stuck in this traffic or hanging on this hospital wall, and I could have saved the cardiac arrest. And it's just a group effort.
And in saying that about as far as the things and the capabilities that we have, while those are things that we need to be educating the public about more, we also need to constantly work to make sure that we're raising the bar from the training side of things, to make sure that those paramedics and EMTs, that they are trained to the level. Because as well as I do, when funding goes away, a lot of times the training budgets are some of the first things. That's the first thing,
exactly.
And we have to have those well-trained. We don't want situations in Georgia where you have a county that someone drives through and says, oh, you better be careful if you go through that county, because they're not keeping up. They think they have an EMT or a paramedic license in hand and they're good to go. They never have to do anything else. Well, it's a constant learning process, and we have to make sure that we continue to train our people.
Absolutely. Get people to care, and when they care, they want to do more and learn more.
Right.
And that's we have to be a destination, not a job anymore, a destination career. What I hear you saying, just my brain interprets it like the military. The military is people who are lifers, and they just get stronger and better as they go. And there's some people who just serve a little bit and get out.
Right.
We're not even to the lifer spot. We're still at the serve a little bit and get out, because we've got to make a career out of it. It's all coming together. And
there are great elements, and a lot of people will say, well, you have the younger generation that they don't do things like we did. But that's not always bad. We have to be able to have that flexibility and know that in some of that younger generation, there's some capability there that we may need to look at our processes a little bit differently to see if we can incorporate some things that may be an easier way to do something than what we already have in place.
Exactly. And that's part of what One EMS does, is bringing the voices together. Like you said, I need the wisdom of somebody who's been in the field 40, 50 years. I need the person who came from, I would never have thought, lobbyist. How you go from lobbyist to, but I get it. And that's a whole different perspective. The more we have conversations, the more we can bring people together. And coming back to what you're struggling with in the beginning, I think it's kind of what we can talk about. That's how One EMS can help, is just get more understanding out there about what we need, about what Gemsa is trying to do, and why we should be a part of it.
Well, the thing that we're concentrating on now too, and it's not just about the numbers in EMS and in our organization, what our membership numbers look like, but there's that adage of there's strength in numbers. That is definitely true. When you go to push a piece of legislation, or when you go to fight a piece of legislation that may
Yes.
not be good for the industry.
Right.
You know, those numbers and that ability to have, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people behind
Yes.
whatever your idea or initiative is that you're pushing forward is going to make a difference to that legislator. And it's also going to matter how their people back home feel. They want to know how that EMS director and
Yes.
those folks at home feel about whatever piece of legislation
Right.
they're looking at.
Absolutely, absolutely. I respect your time, 'cause I can talk to you. I mean, you keep throwing these things in that I want to go in on. It's like, no, you're right. But I know you've got a lot to do here with the conference. How's the conference going for you so
It's
far?
been great. We have been very pleased so far with the facility. You know, for us, it was a little bit of a nerve-wracking thing
I'm sure.
from the beginning because we had been in Savannah for 14 years. So we sort of ventured out a little bit to come to a new facility. Didn't know how everybody would feel about it, but the facility's been great. And the great thing about our membership is they're supportive of the organization. So they know when we do things different. We're trying. We may there may be some bumps in the road, but they have always been right there with us to go through those times that we've had rough areas, and hopefully if there's any glitches this time we can work them out so they'll never know.
That's good. I've heard a lot of good positive feedback about being here at Jekyll Island, from the vendors saying the vendor hall is much better,
Much
to
better.
the families being able to go out to the beaches while the providers are here getting their education. It's been working out.
As I mentioned in my opening statement too this morning when we opened up the session, a lot of people, yes, they come here to get their continuing education hours, but a lot of people come as a family reunion because this may be a once or twice
Right.
a year that they get to see a lot of the people that they've known all through the years.
Well, I appreciate it, Kim. This is why we have the conversations, to get more input, more insight on what's going on, to see what's happening, because at the end of the day, we are One EMS. Thank you.